Want to watch football without the restrictions of blackouts or cable? Check out expressvpn.com to help you get access to all the live games. Sign up today using the link in the description to get 3 free months. Go to Bolt fam, it's the director. Chargers fans, it happened. All right, I put out the warning a couple of days ago that something big was going to happen in terms of the Chargers parting ways with a pretty big player. And it happened. It happened just moments ago. Mike Williams has been released from the Los Angeles Chargers. Longtime Chargers fan favorite. Hugely appreciated player by myself, and I'm sure a lot of fans here. Going to be a very tough one, man. And of course, there's a lot of rumors going around that could still happen, right? There's talk about Joey Bosa that's very legitimate. There was a little bit of talk about Keenan Allen, which I don't know how much water that holds, but this is going to be a pretty big year for the Chargers in turning things over into the Jim Harbaugh era, and unfortunately, money was going to be a big part of that. Joe Hortiz has done a very nice job in figuring that out so far, though, because with this hard-to-swallow news did come some pretty good news as well. The Chargers also restructured Khalil Mack's contract. This was a guy that I thought was going to be gone. To keep him a Charger for the next season, hopefully. No confirmation there. He could still be traded, but it really feels like Khalil Mack's going to be back in 2024, which is excellent news. So a lot of kind of process here, okay? We're going to go over these moves right now for the Chargers, as well as what they mean for the cap, what the Chargers position group could look like, especially with this year's talented group of rookies, and what to look for in the future. So before we do kick things off, guys, shout out to the sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. This is a great way to support the channel if you guys want to go that route, man. Use code director to match your first deposit up to $100. Get in on the action. Newcomers, take advantage of this special on the screen right here. Before we do kick off, hit us up with a like and sub if you do enjoy this Chargers content. The small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, and bell notification helps me out a lot. Let's get into it, baby. Lights, camera, action. Breaking news, the Chargers have released star Chargers wide receiver Mike Williams, as well as restructured the contract for Khalil Mack. A lot to talk about today, man, but I think I would be remiss if I didn't take a moment before breaking down the business, the numbers, without saying thank you to Mike Williams, man. This dude, he reminds me a lot of the late Vincent Jackson in terms of just plays I'm never going to forget, big plays. A quarterback needs help. You throw it into a desperate situation, and your guy makes a play, right? And Mike Williams was definitely one of those guys for me. My guy, at least of this generation, for me as a Chargers fan. Right now, guys, I'm going to say that there are rumors that Mike Williams could come back, right? I think there was a tweet here by Ian Rappaport saying that the Chargers would like to bring him back, but Mike's going to definitely test the free agent market. I'm going to go ahead and say that it's very unlikely that the Chargers do bring back Mike Williams. Sure, it could be a possibility, right? This year's, draft is chock full of talented wide receivers. Maybe teams don't want to take a chance on Mike Williams, unfortunately, because of the injury that he sustained and maybe the money that would be attached to him as well. So there is a possibility we bring him back. However, that applies to the Chargers as well. If you take a look at the Chargers draft scenarios the past couple of days, past couple of weeks, not just on my channel, but pretty much everywhere, the Bolts are heavily projected to take a wide receiver, especially at pick number 5. Malik Neighbors would be a huge investment. And this is after the Chargers already took a receiver in the first round last season. So bringing back Mike Williams becomes a lot more complicated when you think about stuff like that. So with that in mind, I just wanted to say thank you, Mike Williams. This is likely it for him and the Los Angeles Chargers. Wow, that's been a slip up I haven't had in a long time. And one that I truly am going to miss. I do think he's going to get scooped up on a cheap deal to another team. And to that, I wish him success. Hopefully it's not to somebody in our division. I won't even go there. Just thank you, Mike Williams. Thank you for everything that you've done maybe there's a chance that we bring him back. But if not, some of the best plays that I've ever seen as a Chargers fan came through the hands of number 81. And I do very much appreciate that. So with that being said, let's talk turkey. All right, what are we talking money-wise? Well, the cut of Mike Williams does save the Chargers $20 million in cap space. Okay, I don't have the concrete numbers here, but roughly $20 million. I think it might be on the nose with this one, which does make the Chargers cap compliant. I'll explain that in just a second. So the 2 o'clock deadline, or should I say the 1 o'clock deadline Pacific, not something I'll have to worry too much about with Mike Williams, or the Chargers at this point, because of the Mike Williams move, okay? We do incur, I think, around $12 million in dead cap, though. Keep that in mind going to the future, but Chargers got a lot of money in 2025, 2026, and beyond, so not too big of an issue there. The Mike Williams cut, though, is probably the one that made the most sense. The Bolts, we had no choice. Every team in the NFL, unless you want to incur some serious fines and maybe even have some picks taken away, has to be cap compliant by 1 p.m. Pacific today. And unfortunately, Mike Williams, with the injury and the money attached to his name, was likely going to be the guy to take the fall there. And honestly, even though I expected it, it is pretty tough. It is still pretty tough. But yes, the most likely move. Now, a lot of people have been asking me, Director, how does this make us cap compliant, though? The Chargers have gone out there, and we've signed a couple of dudes the past couple of days. Gus Edwards, great signing. Will Dissly, fantastic signing. A couple of guys handed extensions. Cameron Dicker, Lohi Gilman. All these guys cost money, right? Well, fortunately, the Mike Williams cut and the saving of $20 million in cap has made the Chargers cap compliant. And it's because those new contracts that we just talked about don't officially hit the books yet. Does that make sense? So all those deals were agreed upon before the official new league year. Okay? And that means the Chargers still have a little bit of time to move money around and create space for these new signings. Now, I think they already did that. Of course, we already talked about Khalil Mack. I think with that move, the Chargers should be in the green right now. The newest moves or the next moves, I think the Chargers will stay within the green, and it's going to revolve more around leverage, right? With Joey Bosa, Keenan Allen, all that kind of stuff, I think we're okay there. But just to kind of get that out in the open, a lot of people were worried that we still had another big move that we had to make in terms of cuts. Right now, it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. It looks like the Chargers bought themselves some time to figure out the Joey Bosa thing, to figure out the Keenan Allen thing. We should be able to sit back and let Joe Hortiz do what he does. All right? Keep that in mind. The Chargers are cap compliant. There's not going to be any penalties for them this season. Joe Hortiz, honestly, off to a pretty good start here. All right? The last thing I wanted to mention, too, like I said before, I had it written down here, is the Big Mike comeback. Again, I don't know if that's going to happen, but thank you again, Mike Williams. We'll follow you wherever you go. Again, hopefully it's somewhere in the NFC. But it's definitely going to be one of my favorite Chargers ever. All right. The other big piece of news that we saw today, or I should say before we move on from that, there is one more question I've been getting a lot of questions about, or one more question I've been getting asked a lot about since the Mike Williams release, is if the Chargers wanted to bring in a guy that was similar to Mike Williams, that brings that same jump ball ability and contested catch ability. I've kind of gone over this guy before. I'm going to remind people again of the dude that I think definitely fits the bill, for me at least. Xavier Legette definitely would be an awesome option for the Chargers in day 2. He reminds me a little bit of Mike Williams, but a little bit faster. Okay, and again, this is a very, very talented group of wide receivers, and Legette, in any other year, I think would be a high second-round pick, late first-round pick. He looks awesome. And I think the Chargers, if they really value that that style of play at wide receiver, I think Legette could be in play for them, even if they draft Malik Neighbors sometime in day 2, but I think that would be less likely. Either way, look for Xavier Legette. Let's say the Chargers do go Joe Alt or Brock Bowers in the first round. Legette would be, in my opinion, a pretty big target in day 2 of the draft because of the similarities that he carries with Mike Williams. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the Big Mac Attack is back news. Welcome back, Khalil Mack. I know a lot of Chargers fans very relieved to hear this news, myself included. This is a very complicated situation here, man. I'll start things off by saying, you guys know I'm a big Joey Bosa guy. I love me some Joey Bosa, dude. Since he was drafted, one of my favorite players. But since then, things have been developing, right? And I was actually just talking to my good buddy Dan from Chargerse Unleashed today about this. Is Joey has seemed to grow a bigger ego over the past couple of seasons, which is unfortunate, okay? Because that's not the Joey Bosa I know. The one that I know, he was, yes, when he was drafted, there was some contract stuff going on, but for the most part, he kept his head down, played football, and it was an awesome thing to watch. He was a very fun football player for me to cheer on the first couple of years that he was with the team. That being said, I'm a huge Joey Bosa guy. Now you throw into the situation Khalil Mack, who was brought into the scene, had a fantastic season last year. We were hoping to see Mack and Bosa together. Didn't get to see much of that. But Mack really did step up, dude, in more ways than one. He goes out there, puts up a career number in sacks at the age of, 32 years old. And it really proves to be that force at edge for the Chargers that we desperately needed last season, even at an older age, which is pretty funny to think about. Unfortunately for Joey Bosa, the situation's been opposite. Joey Bosa struggling to stay on the field. Maybe less of a leadership role that he's been taking. Khalil Mack's been a fantastic leader. And with this move that Khalil Mack has made with the team, it not only helps the Chargers out to stay cap compliant, but it also shows his grit as a leader, right? There has been rumors that Joey Bosa was offered the chance to take a pay cut, which ultimately, yeah, it's a pay cut. Okay, not everyone's going to say yes to that. We can't hold it against Joey Bosa, but Joey Bosa said no. Khalil Mack agreed to a restructure of his deal. Whatever the case may be with that, we don't have the official numbers yet. It could be a pay cut. It could be a void year or two added. It could be a lot of different things, but either way, Khalil Mack was willing to play a ball. And that's kind of where you start tacking things up on the scoreboard between each edge rusher. You got Khalil Mack, which is willing to play a ball with the contract. Joey Bosa is not. You got Khalil Mack, who's an awesome, awesome leader of men, especially in the locker room. Joey Bosa, perhaps not so much. Then finally, probably the biggest thing that people will talk about with Bosa and Mack is Mack's been available. Of course, Mack did have an injury a couple years ago with the Bears, but honestly, he's looked pretty sharp. Knock on wood, that continues. He's been the more reliable guy. He's been posting the better stats. Khalil Mack has been the dude. And that, to me, is why Joey Bosa was jumped. Khalil Mack is the edge rusher, at least for the next season, for the Los Angeles Chargers, and I think he's going to do a very good job. And this is honestly an awesome move that not only keeps Khalil Mack, our best edge rusher, on the roster, but freed up enough money to bring in our new contracts in under the cap. Great moves by Joe Hortiz. Extremely excited to see Khalil Mack back. I was getting a little worried that the jersey I had purchased only had, a couple of months left of shelf life. No, I think we're going to be able to see him back with the Chargers at least another season. And if we're lucky, maybe there was another year added onto his contract. Some of you guys might say, I don't know about that. He's a little bit older. Yes, there is the risk of that. Heck, there's the risk of that this season. Regression, it hits you quick, right? But there are certain guys that fit a criteria at certain positions that do have the longevity over other players. Keenan Allen's definitely one of them for me. He reminds me so much of Larry Fitzgerald in his late seasons. Okay? And that's because I don't think speed is a huge factor for Keenan Allen, right? He's a surgical a route runner, a tactician out there. And he's continued to rely on that, and I think that's something that he can continue to perform at a high level with for the next couple of seasons. Khalil Mack does kind of the same thing, but with his technique, I think more so in power, right, and strength. And I think that's something that has a little bit more longevity to it as well. So when it comes to these older guys in the roster, I have no issue keeping Khalil Mack, Keenan Allen around a couple more seasons, especially in the Khalil Mack situation if it saves us a bit more money. Now, again, the contract details are unknown at this time. Khalil Mack still posted on OTC with a $38 million cap hit. That's going to change in the next day or so when we find out the details of the restructure. Okay? That being said, our guy, Daniel Popper, has us covered. This dude, the godfather of spreadsheets, posted this a couple hours ago, or I should say about an hour ago, kind of going over his projections for what the cap could look like with these moves. I'm going to go ahead and turn off my camera here so you guys can see the numbers on the bottom right-hand side there. And this is his projections, nothing official, but I would imagine they're pretty close to this. Okay? Effective cap space in and around $5-6 million. not effective, excuse me, just the in the green cap space. Effective cap space is going to be something we build in the next couple of weeks. But this is kind of proof in the pudding that the Chargers are indeed cap compliant, as well as has enough money to bring in our newly acquired Chargers players, which is definitely a good thing. Definitely a very good thing. And it all comes through the hands, again, through the brilliant mind of Joe Hortiz, who's going to work very, very quickly here with a very complicated cap situation, a very, honestly, hard to navigate money situation with the Chargers. He's done a great job so far. He retains, I think, the better edge rusher in Los Angeles through any means necessary, while also trimming the fat with Mike Williams, not burning the bridge, hoping to bring him back. But in the end, the money all kind of makes sense. Okay? Now, for those of you guys are going to be asking me, Director, what do you think is going to happen now with Khalil Mack coming back at the edge position? What's the future of Joey Bosa? I get a lot of people asking me about Joey Bosa because you guys know I'm a Joey Bosa guy. Some of you guys genuinely curious. Other guys wanted to twist the knife. Either way, my expectation of the Joey Bosa situation, especially with the Khalil Mack signing now, a restructure, is that Bosa is going to be traded. Okay, now Joey Bosa, I think, is due some kind of bonus by this weekend. I think him and Khalil Mack, Keenan Allen, are due bonuses this weekend, which is going to change the environment revolving around a trade. If the Chargers pay up, right? If the Chargers use their money to pay some of the salary of Joey Bosa, the price tag for his trade would definitely go up. Okay, and I promise you guys, I know there's a lot of people out there saying that his trade value's in the toilet, yada, yada, yada. This is still a premium position with, let's be honest, a blockbuster kind of name in the NFL that's up for grabs here. And if he gets cheaper in terms of dollar amount, the trade compensation is going to go up. The draft compensation is going to go up. Now, depending on which team you ask, some are going to value money more, others are going to value draft picks more. If there's going to be a move made for Joey Bosa, I think it may happen by this weekend, because I do think teams are going to want to keep their draft picks in their pocket, especially the kind of teams that are going to be going after Joey Bosa. The kind of teams that go after Joey Bosa, because he does have a couple years on his contract, are going to be the kind of teams that have money. Okay, so money's not really a big concern for them. They value draft picks because they can pay for them. They can afford to pay for the draft picks. And Joey Bosa, unfortunately, does carry a lot of money with him. If we take a look over here, let's actually go find Joey Bosa real quick and show you guys the contract details. The dude is going to be expensive for the next couple of seasons, right? 36 to 32. A lot of money there. But there's going to be some teams that are willing to pay up for that. All right, we've heard a little bit of talk from the Lions, a little bit of talk from the Falcons, especially the Falcons. A couple of teams definitely interested because certainly Joey Bosa is a highly coveted name in the NFL. What do I think the Chargers get for him? Well, the trade environment was a little bit different than I was expecting this season. I still think that if you hold Joey Bosa until after the draft, which is kind of seeming unlikely, you can get a second or first round pick from him. I really do. Some of you guys think I'm crazy for that, but there's going to be a lot of teams that make it out the other side of the draft that wanted an edge player, that wanted their edge player, and don't get it. They wanted their edge player in free agency. They didn't get it. There's going to be several teams that just didn't get their guy. And the only option left on the table if you want to add a body is trade. And that's where Joey Bosa and his name value increases. Now, that being this case, I don't know if Joey Bosa is going to make it until after the draft. If Bosa is traded before the draft, I can see the case for a third, fourth rounder because of the money. The Chargers would be freeing up a lot of money, and that does come with some value as well. But hopefully the Chargers bought themselves a little bit of leverage by restructuring Khalil Mack and allowing them a little bit of time to let that, trade value sizzle a little bit, marinate a little bit for other teams to think about. So what's going to be the future of this position? At least for right now, I think the Chargers are going to look very good with Khalil Mack and Tui Tuipulotu. Breakout star of last season at edge. I do expect the Chargers to draft maybe. I think more than likely, even though the money's kind of tight right now, I think you sign a guy at edge to free up your drafting a little bit this season. That's not necessarily too expensive, right? There's a lot of guys out of the Baltimore system that are currently free agents. Few of them will definitely not be too expensive. Kyle Van Noy, Tyus Bowser just got cut as well. And I think that's an awesome option just to kind of rotate in with these dudes. As for the future, Khalil Mack, he could play out the season and be done. Maybe the Chargers have added another year. Who knows? But we may be in the market for a future draft guy. And that's why I think guys like Top Robinson are still on the table for me this season. If the Chargers wanted to draft a guy, first round, second round, third round, whatever, to develop behind Khalil Mack for a season, that's definitely not a bad idea too. Kind of setting yourself up for life after the Bosa Mack days and into the Tui Tuipulotu and whoever else days. So should be very interesting to monitor that situation. Well, that's all I got for you guys today. Unless something has happened since then, we'll go ahead and check the old Twitterverse real quick. Just making sure that we're not missing anything. Because, yeah, there's more stuff that I think could happen by this weekend. But right now, I think we are in the clear. So let me know in the comments section what you guys think of these moves. Is this what you would have done? Is you would have done something different? You let me know. But happy new league year to everybody in the comment section, to my followers here. It's going to be an exciting season. Yes, we're going to have to take our medicine now when it comes to the roster construction, but this is still year one in the Jim Harbaugh-led Los Angeles Chargers. It's going to be an exciting season to follow. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me. This has been The Director. If you like what you saw here, hit us up with a like and sub on your way out. We'll see you next time. And as always, bolt up and stay frosty. Welcome back, Khalil Mack. Good to see that move, man. Truly.